Addressing poor performance is often a conversation which leaders resist having. Why? Because it's not really a fun part of the job, but we know that we need to do it. To be an effective leader and effective coach, we must be able to address where performance is lacking, because ultimately we are paid to ensure that the customer experience, the brand promise, the products and services we offer, the integrity of all of that is in place, and that the business is growing and is profitable, and that we're accountable for the morale of our teams. And often if there's poor performance happening, we know that drags down morale as well. So here's a tip to help you address people's performance. I always ask myself this first, because I'm accountable as a coach or a leader that my people are well trained and prepared to deliver that which I need delivered in the business. So if somebody's not delivering that, I first have to look myself in the mirror. And the question I ask is this person trained, and are they clear about the expectations of their position? So are they trained for the job to the level that they need to be able to execute what I'm asking them to execute? And are they clear about the expectations? My expectations, or the company's expectations, or the team's expectations, or the customer's expectations, that this is an important area that they need to be consistent with. So again, think about someone in your business who's not performing at the level you want them to perform. The question I want you to ask yourself is, have you or others trained them to be great at that job? It's a yes or no. And then, second, are they clear about the expectations that you have in relationship to the area of lack of performance you're looking at? And the answer will be yes or no. If the answer is yes, they are trained, and yes, they are clear on the expectations, then I will go have a very straight conversation with that person about their performance. And I will check in, especially if it's the first time, to ask them, hey, Joe, before we start, I want to address something with you and look to improve in this area and help you with it as well. But I want to ask you a question first. Regarding the customer service standard, X, Y, or Z, are you fully trained in that area? I don't want to assume that you are. I think you are, but do you have any questions about how to execute that customer service standard with the customers? And then be quiet and wait for him to answer. And you're listening for, is the person I'm coaching unclear about how to do the job? If they're unclear about how to do the job, they miss something in training, or you miss training them. So don't coach on behavior that they haven't been trained in. Does this make sense? I want to make sure that that's first answered for me, because if it's just a training issue, I need to make sure we get that gentleman trained immediately. Let's get you up to speed so that no one's pointing a finger at you on something that you're not trained in. All right, and then I hold them accountable for getting themselves trained, so that's no longer an issue. Okay, so that's training. Or they may say, yeah, no, buddy, I'm totally clear about the training. I'm fully trained. Training was great. I've been checked off and all that stuff. I'm certified, whatever the case is. And so, no, I understand how to do it. Well, then you check that box. Next, I go to, great, and are you clear of the expectations in relationship to that performance standard? So in other words, again, back to customer service, are you clear that we as a team expect that to be done every time out, that this is the protocol for dealing with the customer? And he'll either say yes or no. If he says no, again, you want to clarify. Okay, what is your understanding of the expectation, Joe? And then let him talk. And then you'll listen for, is there a valid reason where he just has a misunderstanding with the expectation? If there is, great. I mean, great in the sense that we've diagnosed what the problem is. Just help him get clear about the expectation and why it's important. Okay, in either case, you either need to put the training in, or you need to clarify expectations. Once that's done, look, you've closed the door now on any excuses or on anything that you may be accountable for that you've missed, right? So I've looked myself in the mirror as the trainer, the coach, the manager, the leader, and I've asked, is there anything missing in this gentleman's training? Is there anything missing in the expectations and the clarity of that for him, that we're in sync with that? And then if the answer's yes, we put it back in place. If the answer is no, then now I'm going to move to a performance conversation and a behavior conversation around him not meeting expectations, right? I'll say, Joe, I understand, and this may be a follow-on conversation to one of those first two options, or it could be the same conversation. So either way, Joe, we're clear on expectations, yes, and we're clear on training. There's nothing we've missed in your training. So I need to understand what else it is that's missing for you to consistently meet this standard. And then you shut up. We're not listening so that we can catch them in some lie or misrepresentation or some, nefarious motive. We are literally listening to see how we can support him in being consistent with it. But mostly now, because we've taken out of the equation any lack of clarity with expectation and any lack of clarity with being trained to do it, now it's all on your employee or the person you're coaching. Does this make sense? And I expect them to step up, because around here we need that standard met because of where we're going as a company and the big vision and how important that is and how important he is to the overall success of the team. So we need to be able to have that kind of straight conversation, ask those questions. In my experience, mostly what people will say is, no, I just need to do it. There's no real other excuse for not doing, like an example as that, customer service standards consistently. There's no excuse. They don't have an excuse. If they're trained and if the expectation is clear, there's no excuse. There's just them being lazy, or them choosing or thinking they have a better way to do it, or them not thinking it's important because no one's calling them on it, right? But now you're starting to interrupt that train of thought, which is not healthy for the culture or for the person or for the performance of the organization, and you're raising the bar on what's expected, right? And you're having conversations to redirect behavior, and you're addressing poor performance. That's how you address poor performance in the organization. It's conversation by conversation. So here's the takeaway. Anytime you're dealing with poor performance of an individual or a team that you're coaching or leading, ask yourself two questions. Are they trained? And are they clear on the expectation? Go find out the answers. Get that resolved. And then once that's resolved, be straight in letting them know that that is the standard and the bar that they must reach if they are going to continue to hold that position or accountability in your organization. Because without it, things stop working, and that's not good for the organization, for the company, or your own relationship with them. If it's not a role that they're suited in, or they're unwilling to do that, you should move them to another role or move them out. That's just the nature of running a high-performance team.